guys, this is Luke and it's Motor Minds, and today I'm here with my buddy Jay, who just picked up a 2014 Ford Focus ST, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he drove all the way up to, where was it? Yeah, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to pick up this thing, but this ain't no ordinary Focus ST. I've been telling you guys ever since I did the Golf GTI review that I was gonna get behind the wheel of an ST and do a comparison. Now this thing is far from stock, but what we're gonna do in the review today is talk a little bit about the ST in general and then go into the modification that this car has had done to it to make it such a complete and utter beast. So as usual, you've seen some of my reviews. I always start off with the styling. Oh, yeah. Oh, Viper. Damn. Okay, yeah, well, this car may not look like a Viper, but it looks pretty damn good, wouldn't you say so?
Yeah.
I love the front end. It's a lot like the similar Focus, but you got those headlights that just stare you down so much more. And you have that FS Works front splitter, right? Carbon? Yeah, the thing looks awesome. It needs to be re-clear coated, but it looks insane. And then you got that black grille too. I think it looks awesome. It's to house that intercooler and all of that stuff. It looks really, really good with the Ford Racing, what's it, Ford Performance Blue?
Yeah, Ford Performance Blue straight out of the factory.
Yeah, the paint looks absolutely awesome. And when you move on to the sides, you have these, of course they're not the stock rims. They are, what are the rims again?
Team Dynamics 18x9s.
Oh yeah, those Team Dynamics rims look absolutely awesome. They're wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires that grip like all hell. And when you get to the back of this car, the first thing you notice is this huge, and I mean huge, carbon fiber wing. Doesn't that wing kind of look like some maniac wearing his baseball cap on backwards? I mean, that's what it looks like to me. It just completely makes the look of this car. It makes it look like a Yabo Sports like little racer, and I love that look. This car just exudes this you personality, and I love that. It just makes it seem like a little racing toy for the road, which with a hot hatch is what you want. The Golf GTI, in my opinion, was a little bit too restrained. It was a little bit too boring in the way it looks. Yeah, it's a clean and upscale, mature choice, but this thing, it lets you know that you're driving a car with a lot of power that handles insanely well. Now, let's start talking about the powertrain. Now, from the factory, this comes with a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, and it has 252 horsepower. However, this car makes a lot more than that, right? I mean, so this thing, it puts down, what, you said 265?
At the wheel, 265, 365 foot-pounds.
Yeah, 365 foot-pounds of torque. Now, this has an ECU flash. It's what, a Ford Racing Performance Package?
Yeah.
Can you walk the viewers through that real quick?
So basically, it's got a cold air intake and a Borla rebadged by Ford catback exhaust.
Yeah, that Borla exhaust, guys, sounds absolutely ridiculous. That baritone, you would never expect to get that sort of baritone from a 4-cylinder. And listen to this. It just growls and snarls, and you don't just get noise from that awesome exhaust, you also have awesome intake noise too. You can hear that engine, even though it has the resonator delete. Yeah. Am I right? Yeah, they got rid of the resonator, but in its place, there is an awesome blow-off valve that is just insane. I was telling him earlier, every time I lift off the gas, it feels like, it just sounds like an ocean wave is crashing down. It's absolutely ballistic. It just sounds ridiculous and just makes it feel like an utter race car. Now, when you're working with 265 horsepower and 365 pound-feet of torque at the wheels, so we're talking about 300 wheel horsepower, all going through front-wheel drive, you're gonna have a decent amount of torque steer, and you definitely get that in this car. This isn't a point and squirt type car. It's one where whenever you hit the gas, you have to cling on to the steering wheel for dear life.
It's got recoil.
Yeah, it's got some serious torque steer. Now, Ford tried to eliminate some of that with their torque vectoring system. It doesn't have a torque vectoring diff. It has torque vectoring by braking, so when you're going around a turn, it'll brake inside wheels to help keep the car in line and whatnot. And it does a pretty good job. This car handles extremely well. The steering steering has great feel to it. It's very darty, and if it weren't for that torque steer, this thing would be an absolute ridiculous thing to drive. And even with the torque steer, it still is. It handles extremely well. You just have to be ready. Like, remember when I was going over that one hill on Waples Mill, and I just gave it gas and you just yanked to the right? You have to be ready for the car to try to kill you. But of course, the car wanting to kill you is part of the personality, in my opinion. So what is the steering wheel that I have in front of me right now? I completely forgot.
So it's an SS tuning steering wheel.
Yeah.
So basically, it's the wheel itself that's custom. You send it in, take 8 weeks. They'll use the
8 weeks.
8 weeks, yeah.
Dang.
And for $800 to $1,100, you can get your Ford standard MyTouch controls on top of your SS tuning wheel.
Yeah, so this wheel, it has awesome perforated leather grips. It's nice and thick. It has a center stripe up top, so you know when you're pointing dead straight, but it still has all that Ford hardware, like Jay was saying, which makes it so nice. And oh, it just feels great going through the turns. I just cannot believe the noise this thing makes and the sheer amount of grip. Like, just going through these turns, it holds on, but it would because it has Montoon coilover suspension. It also has a rear sway bar. It has all new bushings. I mean, this thing's really set up to kick some ass. It's just absolutely insane to drive. Now, yeah, the Golf GTI might be able to go around turns somewhat as quick as this thing is, but in a straight line from the factory, it's pretty much matched with the Golf GTI too. 6 seconds 0 to 60, but this thing's way quicker than that to 60. Once you get into the boost, this thing absolutely kicks you back in the seat. Like, I was shifting gears and I can see his body get pushed back in the passenger seat whenever I got back on the gas. Now, one thing I must say about this car in comparison to the GTI is when you get on boost, it's a lot more aggressive and a lot more noticeable. Yes, part of that's because of the tune, but the GTI feels a little bit more linear in its delivery, where this thing just gives it to you a one massive punch to the face. It's just absolutely awesome. Yeah, the GTI might be the more mature choice, but I mean, I think this is the choice we all really, really want to make. This car makes you feel like a kid. It makes you smile like a little boy. And with this thing being set up for the track, the owner, what track did he take it to again?
The Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix.
Yeah, so the previous owner, he has an S2000 track car and stuff like that, so he really knows his stuff, which is why this thing is set up so well. But like, just being able to have that performance and the comedy experience that this car provides is just awesome. All wrapped in a practical package, which is why I love hot hatches so much. But I think it's time to talk about the interior. We gotta go a little bit away from the powertrain stuff and actually start talking about what makes this thing a car.
Right.
Yeah, but what would you say your favorite part about the interior is?
Favorite part is probably the center console.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, I value interior. That's part of the reason why I didn't get a Subaru, but yeah.
True that. But yeah, this interior, a lot of it's very similar to the Focus Titanium that I have, that I've done a review on. It has the same Ford My Link 2 or My Ford Touch.
Yeah,
My Ford Touch 2 in the middle. And it's honestly not that bad of an interface. No, it can be laggy at times, and it is getting outdated, but of course this is a 2014 model year. But it has a 10-speaker Sony audio system with a subwoofer. Sounds great. It has the full Recaro leather seats. This is the ST3 package, so of course it's gonna have all those goodies in it. And I mean, this interior is just such a nice place to be. It's not quite as nice as the Golf GTI, just because the GTI, the Mark 7s, they almost look like Audis inside. But I mean, you got a soft touch dash, the stitching is really nice, and I honestly really like it in here. Yeah. You have nice chrome surrounds around the air vents on the outside, chrome on the door panel here. It's really not a bad place. But dude, my favorite part of this interior for sure are the gauges up here. You have an engine temperature gauge, you have a boost gauge and an oil pressure gauge. All things you want when you're taking your car to the track. But these seats, as Jay said, can get hard on long journeys. I haven't driven the car long enough to notice that, but you can definitely tell that they're firm. But the bolstering, it holds you in place so well. When you're going around a turn, especially when you have a car that corners this well, you don't want to be sliding out of your seat. You want to feel like you're cocooned, and you really, really get that. This is a very driver-centric car, which is exactly what you want. I really, really, really like it. Now, the back seats, they're not massive, but I mean, you can fit people back there.
Yeah, you can fit people, and you can always fold them down for
fold them flat.
massive trunk space.
Exactly. I think with the seats up, it's what, 22 cubic feet?
Yeah, 22 cubic feet.
Yep, and then when you fold them down, you get quite a bit more. You got a nice sunroof here. Headroom in the back is pretty good. And I just love how with the Focus ST, they were able to really integrate all the practicality you're gonna want. And that's what I love about the ST. They're able to combine a very practical, nice Ford Focus hatchback with stupid performance and that image of just being a rowdy boy racer. Oh, I love this thing. Woo-hoo! You gotta be on your ball with the torque steer. Oh my God. Now this 2-liter engine sends its power through a 6-speed manual transmission. Thank God it's not the 5-speed that's in my car. It's a great transmission, but 5 speeds are just so outdated, you don't want that. This 6-speed, it just works so well. The throw's a little longer than you might expect, but it's pretty notchy, so it's very direct. The throws, while they are a little long, they're very easy. Response is good from the shifter. It just feels awesome to shift this thing. The clutch is great. It's a very bitey clutch, but it engages on the lower end of the pedal, so you can do some really nice quick shifting with this thing without any issues at all. I really like this transmission, wouldn't you agree?
For sure.
Yeah, the transmission is absolutely awesome. So bringing this ST from a stop, this is a 3,200 pound beast, which isn't that heavy, but you still want to have nice brakes for performance. We have Stop Tech rotors and calipers, and also pads. The whole thing is just a great setup. It really, really has good feel. When you first hit the brakes, there's not a whole lot of travel until they start to bite.
And speaking of bite, you've got steel brake lines, super responsive.
Yeah, no, this thing's great. Oh, are the steel brake lines an upgrade?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Over the stock.
Nice, good stuff. Yeah, you see, guys, he pulled out his phone and he was like, yeah, this is the list of every upgrade this car has, and it's what, like 100 things or more?
Probably,
it's ridiculous. Yeah. Like, the previous owner of this thing probably spent 10 grand or more just in upgrades for the thing.
Yeah, I saw the original listing said 16 grand.
Yeah, it's like 16.9 or whatever.
Yeah, 16.
But this also has the Ford Performance package, right? Or something like that?
Yeah. No, I'm talking about 16 grand in upgrades.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the sticker price of the car.
Oh, no.
That's ridiculous, dude. But what was that performance package that you said this thing has?
The Ford Racing Performance Pack. So the subdivision of Ford Racing, they make this package, and they just basically rebrand Cobb and Borla parts, and then they smack it together as their own, and they call it their Stage 1 tune with an ECU flash.
Yeah,
that's basically what this thing.
Yeah, that's why we're making so much power right now. And it's just cool that you can get that package from Ford, you know?
Yeah.
Or a subdivision of Ford, because you're not going with some shady or aftermarket tuning. Right. You're doing something that you know has been developed specifically for this car by the people that made this car.
This thing doesn't have those Cobb AP access ports. Mm-hmm. It comes with the ECU flash from Ford.
And that ECU flash definitely does its job. This thing has so much mid-range power. So much mid-range power. When I say it's a lot faster than a Golf GTI, I mean it's a lot faster. Now, of course, it's not the most fair comparison because it has been tuned a little, but it's ballistic. And I mean ballistic. Like when you really mat your foot into the loud pedal, you get kicked back and you have that sound to just back it up. You know, it's just so nice. And you look out and you have this red steering wheel stitching and all this stuff, and it just, you see the gauges and you're just like, you know, I'm in a serious performance machine that is an absolute ball to drive. And that's what gives this car its personality, you know? Like, you don't want to hop in a car that you spent a lot of money on, something that you want to be a fun, performance-oriented car, right, and not feel like the car is having a great time. You want to be able to have that connection with the vehicle. You want the car to dance with you, be a dance partner. You want it to make all the right noises, sound invigorating, get you riled up, get your blood pumping. And this car gets my blood pumping. And it's not just a death trap. It actually handles. It handles really, really, really well. And I just can't get over it. When I first got in this thing, I had decently high expectations, but I didn't really know what to expect. And after driving the thing, I must say, I think the Focus ST is one of the best hot hatches you can buy.
For sure.
Yeah, I really do agree with that. Yeah, it might not be the most refined vehicle out there. Yeah, this car is on the coilover, so the ride's a little bit harder. Road noise actually isn't that bad. Neither is wind noise, to be honest with you. And with the 6-speed, it gets decent mileage, 23 city, 32 highway, except for if you're driving it the way I have. For the past hour, our average has been 15 miles to the gallon. 15, but that's 100% my fault because I'm just driving like a but I mean, can you not drive like a dick in this car? I really don't think it's possible, to be honest.
If you're aiming for 32 miles to the gallon, you're torturing the car.
Yeah, you're driving the car the wrong way. And like we were talking about earlier, you drive the thing and you're always aware of the presence of the speed, you know? Like in the Golf GTI, you can drive it, like my sister hopped behind the wheel of that car and drove it normally. Sure, she could hop behind the wheel of this thing and drive it, but she wouldn't be driving it normally. She'd be sitting in boost and having a great time because no matter how you drive this thing, you're always aware of the speed. The GTI can mask it a bit, not in this thing. Not at all. It just encourages you to always stomp that gas pedal. Another great feature of the Focus ST is there's an ESC off button right here below the climate controls. Thank you, Ford. My car doesn't have a way to completely turn the system off. You can turn off traction control by going through the menus in the center display between the gauge cluster and digging through a million menus and settings and blah, blah, blah to finally find it. But you can't get the stability off. You can turn off traction, but not stability. Now this thing turns off everything, which I'm pretty sure you're gonna want that. I say we test out that theory. See what happens. Sport mode on. Wow. Wow, that made it a lot faster.
Oh, yeah.
Just because when you have it on, I get so much traction control light all the time. Whenever I'm in boost, the traction light comes on because it can't handle that power. When you turn it off, you're on your own.
You're on your own.
But luckily, I can handle the power. Oh boy! This thing's a riot. Oh my God. Nice choice, dude. Nice choice. Real nice choice. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Motor Minds. It was great to have Jay here on his very first Motor Minds adventure.
No, thank you.
Hopefully we'll have many, many more.
I actually learned a lot about this car from this review.
Yeah. No, it's always a good time to learn, bro.